But there's no evidence of widespread voter fraud.
There's no evidence that there's not either. That's the definition of fraud, Jake. When we look at that, what we have.
Donald Trump's chief of staff, Mark Meadows, is not a smart man. He is, however, a phony, a fraud, and a horrible liar. Take this exchange with ABC This Week's George Stephanopoulos, for example.
That the president doesn't read much. You may see it when he goes to Marine One. There's a cardboard box that is brought on Marine One. What's in there are clippings and clippings each and every day. He reads probably more than anybody I know.
That is a terrible lie, Mark. That's horrible. That's just awful. You thought about that one, didn't you? You used it on 2 different shows. That was the best you can come up with? Let's leave aside the fact that anyone that carries around a cardboard box is kind of weird. And he puts it on Marine One, not Air Force One, Marine One. And he puts newspaper clippings in this box. Who puts newspaper clippings in a box and then tries to read these clippings on a helicopter? It doesn't make any sense, Mark. And the people stupid enough to believe that stupid story wouldn't be swayed by whether or not Donald Trump reads. They don't care. Did you also know that Mark Meadows is a racist?
2012 is the time that we're going to send Mr. Obama home to Kenya or wherever it is. We're going to do it.
Mark Meadows is actually a specific kind of racist. A racist that doesn't think he is a racist because he has one black friend.
I asked Lynn to come today in her personal capacity to actually shed some light. How long have you known Miss Patton?
I'm responsible for Lynn Patton joining the Trump Organization and the job that she currently holds.
Well, I'm glad you acknowledged that because you made some very demeaning comments about the president that Miss Patton doesn't agree with.
Wow, that is some ignorance. I offer this to you as backdrop for the interview I present to you today. Please enjoy Chris Wallace versus Mark Meadows on Fox News Sunday morning news talk show. Enjoy.
Let's start with the breaking news, and that is that the Washington Post is reporting on tapes of the president's sister, Marianne Trump, saying things like this about his brother. Let's put him up on the screen. He has no principles, none. The change of stories, the lack of preparation, the lying.
Well, I think the president has already spoke to that. Another day, another political attack. What I find interesting is any family member that would secretly tape 15 hours of a conversation with somebody, obviously to promote an agenda. She's been very vocal in her support for Joe Biden. So a number of the accusations that are being made, I've been able to witness up close and personal, and they're just not true. The president is not only well prepared, but reads so much that it causes me to have to read many times well into the night to catch up with him. And go ahead, Chris. Sorry.
Well, I was just going to say, Congressman, but specifically...
Before we go on, I'm just going to say, it's going to be very difficult to trust anything else that comes out of this guy's mouth.
She talks about his character, Marianne Trump, on these tapes. She says he has no principles. She says that he lies. What's the president's reaction to that?
Well, he's already spoken to that. I can tell you the principle that he has is he loves this country. He's proud of this country. He's proud of the American people that actually make up this country.
Is he proud of all the people that make up this country, Mark?
That were very fine people on both sides.
Is that what you meant, Mark?
Even the personal attacks that come each and every Sunday against this president. You know, I don't know who would want a job if you didn't have the principle of loving the country as much as he.
There are plenty of reasons why he might want the job, Mark. I mean, he could be building up his brand, enriching himself. Maybe he wants to make deals with foreign countries for a hotel he might want to build in the future. Or maybe he wants to stay out of jail. There's a lot of reasons he'd want to be president right now, Mark. And a lot of them don't involve loving the country.
I get to see it close. It's a great benefit. You know, when we look at what he talks about, He talks about the promises that he's made, the people that it has affected, and ultimately the prospects of a brighter future because of his actions.
It is what it is.
And he's going to continue, regardless of the attacks,
I
to
don't
make
stand by
sure that
anything.
he delivers on behalf of the American people.
All right, well, let's get to the politics and off the family. So Joe Biden and his message at the Democratic Convention. Take a look.
I will draw on the best of us, not the worst. I will be an ally of the light, not the darkness.
The Democrats held the darkest and angriest and gloomiest convention in American history.
Now, it is true the Democrats criticized the way the president has handled the coronavirus and the economy and race, but when Biden talks about being an ally of the light, how is that dark or angry?
Well, and listen, you couldn't have watched any of that without considering it dark.
I'm Mark Meadows, and I'm here to tell you how you're supposed to think.
Would have said that it was a dark, really focused on President Trump. This president will focus on the American people this week.
Which ones, Mark? Which American people?
When we look at it, listen, that speech that Joe Biden gave was very much like a speech that he had given in 2008.
What was happening in 2008? Let's see, Republican president, economy at the edge of collapse. Much like now, yeah. I could see how the two speeches could be similar.
But this is not about speeches.
Yes, this is about who is president right now.
This Joe Biden.
Oh, well, you went another way with that. But of course you did.
Biden has been in office for over 40 years.
And 8 of those years he served as VP, where he presided over the longest bull run in U.S. market history, which started in 2009 under President Barack Obama. From nothing. So what's your point, Mark?
Politicians give speeches. What we're looking for is action.
Bing, bing, bing.
This president has shown action each and every day.
In his
Joe
backswing?
Biden has barely passed 2 bills, one of which he's trying to run away from because of the left. And when we look at it, this president accomplished more in his first 100 days than Joe Biden did in the last 40 years. It's about action. This president's willing to do that. You'll see a real difference this week when we start focusing on the people that the president's policy has actually affected.
They're going to show the people that Donald Trump's policies have affected. Well, with regard to immigration policy, they showcase these people.
Great place, great state.
I mean, they really offered nothing else in that area.
She's also worked as
almost like they were pandering. Those guys got to stop using people of color as props. I mean, as I said, I am genuinely happy for those people. Trump did help those people. But when Mark Meadows said that they were going to start showcasing people that Trump helped, did he mean just those 5 people? I mean, that's pandering. Donald Trump has not earned the benefit of the doubt on this one. That's wrong, man. I'm not going to even bring up those people of color who were tricked into appearing in the RNC video.
We're going to get to some issues. I have one more question, though, on tone. Here was a statement by the president this week, his message.
I'm the only thing standing between the American dream and total anarchy, madness, and chaos.
Congressman, some people would say that's a pretty dark and angry message.
Well, I mean, we don't have to look any further than the streets across the country.
Okay, now suddenly darkness and anger is fine, just so long as it's supporting our false narrative.
To see what's happening, supposedly peaceful protests that are now being classified as riots, and this president is the only thing standing between that and anarchy.
So of course now you're going to address why people are angry?
But here's what it is. It's about defending the police.
You're going to address their concerns?
It's about making sure that we fund them properly, not defund them.
Or at least what they're saying?
It's about making sure that they have the tools to restore law and order.
No. Okay.
And keep safe communities. This is all about safety.
They're not going to bring it up. They're not going to bring up why all those people are marching. I think it's hilarious that Mark Meadows talks about safety here, because by not acknowledging what people all across the country are trying to tell you through peaceful protests, while completely not even bringing up the other side's part in this, that's going to cause more violence, not safety. Mark?
Whether it's in the cities or in the...
And you're still busy playing political games. Shame on you, Mark Meadows.
And the governor there, they don't want the help.
People are dying, Mark. On both sides.
Make sure that people will be able to vote reliably, safely, securely by mail in the November election. Why would the president say he's going to veto that?
Well, Chris, your premise is not correct.
Now, they need that money in order to have the post office work so it can take all of these millions and millions of ballots. But if they don't get those two items, that means you can't have universal mail-in voting.
Well, Chris, your premise is not correct.
Now, Chris, the premise that you have constructed utilizing Donald Trump's exact words is incorrect.
The $25 billion, largely messaging bill, because it's going absolutely nowhere.
Come on, Mark. You know full well that there are multiple GOP senators who have said that the American middle class have received all the stimulus payments they're going to get. And then they went on vacation. They're still on vacation.
I want to ask you one more question about voting, but not mail-in voting. Sean Hannity asked the president this week about whether the Republicans are going to put out poll watchers to make sure that in-person voting will be safe and secure. And here was the president's answer.
We're going to have everything. We're going to have sheriffs, and we're going to have law enforcement, and we're going to have, hopefully, U.S. attorneys, and we're going to have everybody and attorney generals.
Why is the president talking about law enforcement at the polls, which, you know, from our history, is an old tactic that has been used, especially in the South, as a form of voter suppression, especially against minorities?
Yeah.
In case you didn't know, Mark is from the South. He's well versed in the history of poll watchers.
It is an old tactic that has been used, especially in the South, as a form of voter suppression, especially against minorities.
Yeah, I think what we have is we need to make sure that our polls are safe, and we need to make sure that the polling places continue to be there.
Now listen, we are going to have people at the polls to make sure the white people feel safe.
I think what the president was really addressing is to make sure that if you want to show up and vote in person, we're going to make sure that...
You know what he was really addressing, Mark.
Whether you're voting
You're just trying to win an election. You're not trying to be a good or decent man.
But do you need sheriffs to do that?
But as we look at that, sometimes in this new COVID response, what we're finding is because of social distancing, we see a lot more aggressive behavior than I've ever seen in a grocery store. And so to the extent that we're going to deploy thousands of sheriffs, no, we're not going to do that. To the extent that we're going to make sure it's safe, and if the judges at those polling places need any kind of security, we're going to make sure they have the resources to do that.
The people of color will not be a problem on election night.
The president tweeted this yesterday. I want to put it up on the screen. The deep state, or whoever at FDA, is making it very difficult for drug companies to get people in order to test the vaccines and therapeutics. But you know, the president is holding a press conference this evening with the head of the FDA to announce, we've been told, a major breakthrough on therapeutics. So why is he tweeting out?
Because as has been reported, there was no breakthrough. Trump knew that.
That some people at the FDA, the deep state at the FDA is trying to hurt him and delay scientific progress till after the election.
Well, we're not going to cut corners on any kind of research we can do, but what we will do is cut the red tape. And what the
this is how the zombie apocalypse
addressing,
happens.
it's something that I've been involved with over the last 3 or 4 weeks, is a real frustration with some of the bureaucrats to think that they can just do this the way they normally do it. We're facing unprecedented times, which require unprecedented action. This president is right to call it out, and I can tell you that the announcement that's coming today should have been made several weeks ago. It was a fumble by a number of people in the federal government that should have done it differently.
Speaking of people in the federal government that should have done it differently, are you serious, Mark?
I applaud the president for putting out the tweet, and I can tell you it's not just on the announcement that's coming today. There are other actions that need to be taken to make sure that we get the protection for the American people quickly, safely, and securely, and we will do that.
You all know he's full of shit right here, right?
Pressure of the president to make sure that that gets done.
Sorry to interrupt. I got a minute left. I want to ask you one last question.
That's great.
The president was asked this week about QAnon, a conspiracy theory group that the FBI has called a domestic terror threat. The president said he was thankful for the support of people in QAnon, which led to this exchange.
Is this belief that you are secretly saving the world from this satanic cult of pedophiles and cannibals. Does that sound like something you are behind?
Well, I haven't heard that, but is that supposed to be a bad thing or a good thing?
You can end this controversy right now. Does the president disavow, does he condemn QAnon?
Okay, Mark, this is your moment. QAnon is seeping into your party. You can end that shit right now, before it's too late. Take a stand. Show the people who you really are. Denounce QAnon.
Well, listen, we don't even know what it is. I can tell you, you've spent more time talking on it, Chris, than we have in the White House. I find it appalling that the media, when we have all of the important things that are going on, a list of top 20s, that the first question at a press briefing would be about QAnon, that I had to actually Google to figure out what it is. It's not a central part of what the president is talking about. I don't know anything about it. I don't even know that it's credible.
And the reason Mark Meadows didn't denounce them is because they need those people. They need everybody they can get. They know that. And the other reason is because Mark Meadows is a garbage human being.
FBI and others within the FBI spied on the Trump campaign.
Don't pay attention to that conspiracy theory. Pay attention to our conspiracy theory, the one that's plausible to swing voters.
By the FBI, a domestic.
This president is not for hate, so I can tell you that if it's a hate group that is there, let's look at domestic
terrorism. But if they do want to vote for Donald Trump, who are we to stop them?
Other areas, and quit spending time on something that 81% of Republicans don't even know what you're talking about.
There you have it. Mark Meadows is a huckster and just an all-around terrible human being. He could quell the violence, but instead chooses to sow division and to spout baseless conspiracy theories. He's a bad person. My next show will center on Ron Johnson, who likes to yell when he lies.
Unfortunately, but it's very fair. So that citizens, it's a tragedy. It's a tragedy. It's a tragedy. It's a tragedy.
It's a tragedy.
That's how you're typifying it.